And guys, if you do want to take part in this, I will put the answer the call topic up at the top, right under announcements. Okay. So if you do want to jump in, you can. But I'm going to start out with a pretty long intro. And if anybody wants to jump in and share their thoughts as well, you are more than welcome to. I'm not going to stop you. I don't know, Void. I just want to. Yeah. It's been a while since I've been in Jumptown, so I got the itch, if that makes sense. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Answer the Call. It's been a bit of a slow week. There is not a lot going on in the game of Star Citizen right this second. Obviously, like, Jumptown's going on. We just finished Invictus launch week, and I think we're starting to hit the slow time of the year, right? Where we're going to be getting a little bit less updates. They're probably starting to gear up a bit for CitizenCon, things like that. So things I believe are going to start slowing down quite a bit. And I made a tweet the other day because I've just been getting really frustrated with the game. I know, surprise, surprise. But at this point, I think the game with the implementation of PES has really showed itself in its true self, right? It is extraordinarily busted. And at this point, I made a tweet the other day, and I'll overlay it on the screen on YouTube, but it basically is, I think that we should take a quarter off from content addition and focus 100% on quality of life. There's a bunch of teams, and I've been hearing on Star Citizen Live as I'm learning about game development. Thank you, Jared, taking this ride on game development with you, I guess. But I'm learning a little bit about it more lately, and they're talking about how, these teams own this content. And then you hear, like, these individuals within these teams own individual pieces of the content inside of it. So, and nearly every bit of those bits of content have bugs, have quality of life problems, have just generally being extremely tier 0 problems. And I just think it's time, instead of having those developers take time to make racetracks or other things, to focus 100% on the quality of life of the current experience. Now, I can already hear the keyboard clacking from the people that are always defending this game, or anybody who's been in software development before, or anybody who's even been in game development before. They start typing, well, this isn't how game development works, blah, 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 blah. This is an alpha. Da, 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 da. I can already hear all the comments, okay? Feel free to write them, but I'm not going to be listening to them, because I don't believe that this is a traditional game development. This is some other thing. We joke and call it quadruple A development in Discord all the time. I think that Star Citizen's very different because their game is live. Their game is released. Their game is out right now. You can play it, and it gradually gets better. It's not in a good state. It is in an alpha state in terms of, no, does it have all of its features in the game? Absolutely not. Can you play it now? Can it be an enjoyable experience now? It can, but it doesn't work, right? And it doesn't work not because all the features aren't added to the game. It doesn't necessarily work because they don't clean up their tech debt like what feels like ever, or not often enough. They never do anything like just take some time and clean up a lot of the issues, right? And what I'm not saying is bring every feature up to the level of mining, let's say, right? Like, I think mining has far surpassed tier 0 at this point. What I'm saying is taking a look at the general player experience and go, yeah, we got to clean a lot of this stuff up, right? And it's kind of hard to say that that's not something that has sort of become a priority lately, right? You see new player experience. You see, even more recently, completely refactoring the ASOP terminals, right? These are things that could be done by teams that work on these things exclusively while not being distracted by adding more content. That's what I'm talking about. So when CIG is actively doing the things that I'm arguing for now, but also adding content, that's sort of a problem. I think one of the issues with the tweet that I made is I said I would love to see 3 major patches a year and then 1 quality of life patch per year, right? Or maybe even 2 major patches and 2 quality of life patches where they clean up a lot of those issues, right? Now we get what is attempted 4 major patches, a .1 to fix all the issues that they created. It just, I don't know. It seems like we never get what we need out of these, right? Like, I wonder if you're not stuck fixing everything in the .1 all the time, then you would be able to actually make reasonable content for the next patch, right? It's why some patches probably feel underwhelming after a previous patch was not very stable, right? Or there was a lot of issues with it because they're spending time fixing all the issues with the previous one. But then they have to go to the next one because they have to add all those features, right? So one thing I want to talk about within this is PES. And I think that this is the perfect example of sort of the problem with Star Citizen right now is, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but I believe it was around July, letter for the chairman. I think it was June, July. And it was basically saying, all right, man, so here's the deal. 317, I know you've had it for a while. Not great. But we're really putting our heads down on PES. And here's what's going to happen. You know, you're going to deal with 317. PES is going to be on the PTU for a while. We're going to clean it up. We're going to polish it. And then we're going to deliver it to you. And this is what PES is going to do. Has it done what it's supposed to do yet? No, it hasn't. It hasn't at all. I've experienced PES one time. And funnily enough, and I didn't realize this, and I haven't experienced the issue yet. But let me go back to my experience. And I've shared this a couple times now, so you may have heard this story before. I'm mining, we find a huge Quantanium rock, 130k mass, 30% Quantanium. Huge, right? We call in a bunch of friends to try and break it. Turns out we didn't need all the friends. Doesn't matter. We do the initial break. We do the hard part. Hard part's done. Server 30Ks. Classic Star Citizen, right? Then what? Well, I think we had an answer the call, or I think I had like an ad. I was doing a Manscaped ad. So I had to do that for half an hour. Come back, the server's back up. I join it, we go back. All 4 moles that we had running, the rock was completely broken, and even the gadget that we put on the rock was there. So it was perfect. That was PES. Funny, though, is that everyone asked for, including myself, 30k recovery for our ships. What does 30k recovery for your ships do? It brings your ship back to your landing zone. Right? How did we find the ships where we were mining the rock? Well, the ships are still there. You can create a service beacon if the ship is still there to it, and you're on the same server. Right? So you're able to get back to where you were. You're basically able to find your ship and go back to what you were doing. You would need another ship and another person to do it. Still not perfect, but we got there. And we mined the rest of the rock and we sold. And it was a great experience. I've never experienced that again. And I never experienced it up to that point. And that was only a few weeks ago. And we've had PES in a PTU for a long time. So that's the other thing that I would put out there is, has PES delivered? And I think given the time of year it is, it's June 4th, has PES delivered on its quote-unquote promises? And I would say no. I would say not at all. And I don't think it takes the matchmaking aspects for it to do what it needs to do. I think one of the biggest issues with the game is the game isn't remembering where we are, right? So what's the biggest problem when the game 30Ks is that you are sent away from where you were. You're sent all the way back to wherever you last landed. For me, that is the single biggest oversight and quality of life issue that could be added to the game. Every time you log out in an MMO, you log back in where you were. You log back in where you were. Right? You should probably have to log out in a safe place. And maybe you would suffer the consequences of being in hot weather or something like that. But like, imagine waking up where you were. Right? Imagine logging back in where you were. Bed logging doesn't work. These are the kind of quality of life things that I'm talking about. I'm not talking about making the game better in terms of making it more fun, building the economy, things like that. Those are features. Those are separate things, right? Logging out issues, bed logging, when the server crashes, what's saved. Guys, I'm waking up in the PTU every day and items are disappearing. My game 30K'd, my power plant on my ship disappeared. Right? It makes no sense. What about voice over IP? How many times can you not hear your teammates in voice over IP? These are the kind of quality of life things I'm talking about. Is everybody take a quarter and bring these up to a gold standard. They do it with the ships. They don't do it with the game. Gold standard some of these issues. Gold standard logging out. Gold standard inventory issues. Gold standard voice over IP. Gold standard, I don't know, what else? Maybe I was going to say EVA, but I think we're going to get there, right? Star map, we know they're doing those things. I'm not asking for those things that we know are already kind of there. I talked about selling in a previous video, right? You can't sell fixed issues, but you can sell ships. See, that's not true. And that's where this comes from again. What do you think the reason why Star Citizen made less money at this Invictus launch week than the last one? One of them could be, well, the ships aren't as interesting, right? They were less interesting than new ones. But I think it's because the game didn't work. And even when it did work, it didn't function correctly and gave a bad experience. Right? The problem is they can't have gold standard anything until server meshing. Gold standard, in their terms, means one thing and one thing only, okay? And it means bringing it up to the standard of today. Today. Not when server meshing is in. Not when armor is in. They're doing gold standard for ships before they have armor. They're going to have to add armor to all the ships too. So that's simply not a true statement. And that's from Twitch chat, sorry. I don't usually read Twitch chat during the podcast, but I think this is just going to be a monologue today. I don't know if people are going to join in. I do, I would ask you, if you do want to join in, you are more than welcome to call into the show and share your experiences with the game and how you feel about some of the things that I'm talking about. But I'm assuming we're not going to get too many today, but I have one, so I'll hold on for a minute. When I'm done, we'll go to the callers. But this is something I feel very strongly about. And here's the thing about that tweet that I made is we had a bunch of Star Citizen fans and even some content creators come in there and go, "You can't do this. This would make the game take forever." How would creating a situation where players can experience the game in a way where they can actually give feedback on the experience and not tell you what is broken? All we do is create issue council reports around bugs because we're not really able to give true and proper feedback on the actual experience that the developer created because I can't experience the game. I can't experience the feature because there's all these bugs around it. And those bugs could be caused by bugs that have existed for however many years, right? So that's how I kind of feel. I feel like it's kind of time to take a break for one quarter every once in a while. I originally was like once a year or, every other quarter. I don't know if we're there yet, especially given that devs are on Squadron 42 and things like that. I wonder if, with more people focused on one thing, I wonder if we would have kind of a better experience in terms of, devs grinding through a lot of the issues, right? Oh, yeah, another one I see in Twitch chat. Desync, invisible players, right? I do think that they're really trying to get that nailed down and figured out. But it would be so nice if they were able to just focus on those things, I feel like. And again, not a game developer, don't know, but it just feels like it's time. Right? It just feels like it's time to take a step back and say, "Hey guys, it's time to make the experience better." Right? And if only for a quarter, that's fine. And the problem is, I think we're at a point where 320, I think we can guess, going to be a lot of cargo features. We see a lot of Arena Commander features that were added to the roadmap update. And then after that, it's CitizenCon, the end of the year update, which is usually kind of a big deal, maybe. So, yeah. 3.0 took a few patches to get decent, but the problem is we're at 320. And it's not good enough yet. It's not good enough. You can have your bite-sized bits of excitement and fun. But I think they realized when they made less money that the experience needs to be better. And it does. And with that said, let me... I think I have to export this. I don't know if I did or if I didn't. So let's see. Make sure I have the scene good and ready to go. But with that said, let's bring in our first and currently only caller again. !point Discord and chat, and you guys can join in. Click the green room. It's got the little green circle there if you guys want to join in on the show. But this is PC 101, and I think PC shared the most interesting thing about this new PES and the heartbeat for your ships. But I think you might touch on that, PC. But in general, how do you feel about the quality of life and kind of... You play the game significantly more than I do, so I'm curious what you think.
Yeah. Obviously, what I said last week, I want an ability to queue to rejoin server and queue to join friends in regards to PES. But the biggest quality of life I want CIG to work on is the social aspect of Star Citizen. There's been nothing done for years in regards to that. There's no guild system. The party system's so broken. How many times you have to redo the party because the markers disappear, and that doesn't always work.
Yeah, and that's where I would jump in and say I would love to have all those like guild and all that stuff too. But I think we have to touch on, like, we got to start with the parties, right? There's still so many problems with that. And VoIP,
Yeah.
right? And then even there was like an issue with player trading for like months and months and months, like just trading money. So for me, that's like kind of, if I was going to say like, all right, for the, because I don't want to tell them to add more. I want them to fix what they have.
Yeah.
You're going like with the add more stuff, and I agree we need all that shit. But how can we even
more? I just want them to fix what they have. There's no way to redo parties without everyone leaving the party. It's such a pain in the arse to do. There's no way to add people in game. You have to go back to the menu. There's no way to message people if they're in another shard. Everything has to go out of the game. You have to do Discord to message people, Discord to use voice. Everything takes you out of the game. The whole social... They want people to play together, but everything that helps you play together is broken.
Yeah. And that's exactly kind of what I'm talking about here. Like, again, we're not asking for... I don't think I'm asking for the world. I think I'm asking for when I press my voice over IP button and I'm near someone, they hear me. It feels like nobody has a mic in this game. And I don't think it's because they don't. I think most people do. And I feel like I'm coming across people that don't have mics, but I just think they can't hear me. Yeah, right? Stuff like that.
Experience where I'm standing right next to you and you speak to somebody. It's like, Mike, I can't hear you in game.
Yeah. And then we got to go through this like, all right, I got to leave and I got to come back and I got to do this and I got to do that. And then it might work. Right?
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, well, there's clearly an issue there that if we just took a little time for, it would make the overall experience better for everyone, right? In some cases, it would make it worse for people because, you know, you would actually hear people all the time, right? But like, there's a lot of features in the game that have a lot of problems that we could take a bit more time. Like, they do it every quarter, right? You see little things like, remember when we got the button for the ATC landing and stuff, right? Things like that, but in one patch. Why wouldn't that be? Like, I saw somebody saying like that wouldn't be a selling feature for the game. That absolutely would be a sell. Guys, Star Citizen fixed bugs. It would be headlines. I feel like, you know, it's crazy.
Yeah,
so
I'm let your next guy speak. I'm just basically saying that.
Well, before we do, the heartbeat thing, can you give a little more insight to people on that? And have you experienced the negative side of it?
Yeah, I've been doing something on a server. I was building a stupid thing on a planet. I crashed. I couldn't rejoin the server. I can never get back to that server again. At this moment, I have an alt that I use on my other computer to log into that server, so that if I do crash, I can log that alt in and hope he gets back in the server and I can join in him, because the pest not being able to get on your server is a pain in the arse.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's...
as I said, the heartbeat system breaks. The whole point of PES, the heartbeat system breaks it. It's like, it might as well not even bother having PES on.
Yeah. That's the issue. And if it's going to pull your ship away from what, then you can't get back to where you were. It makes no sense. If you're able to, and that's the thing that drives me nuts, is it's not even like pulling the ship out. I asked this the moment they gave the PES experience to us. They explained how you would log back in, you would grab another ship and fly back, and your stuff would be there.
Yeah,
why do I have to? Why do I even have to? Why do I even have to? I shouldn't have to.
Yeah. How are you going to find How are you going to fly back? If you're by yourself, how are you going to fly back? How are you going to know where your ship is?
Yeah. That's a whole nother thing, right? They used to have a track button on the ASOP terminal.
Yeah.
Never
I don't think
did.
that ever worked.
Nope. I saw it work once. I'm pretty sure. I think I saw it work once. But yeah, that's so bad.
I agree. I would like to maybe, if I log off standing on my bridge, I should go back to station. If I log off in my bed, then yeah, but I don't think my ship should disappear from that server. I think it should remain there. So if you don't park somewhere safe and let Dead Space or anywhere, your ship doesn't vanish. It should be able to get raided. If you park on a planet next to an outposts, somebody should be able to go and break into your ship and steal you.
Oh my god, space rust.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with that at all. I think that...
I don't think your ship disappearing is a good workaround.
Yeah. Agreed. The ship is the hero. The ship is your home, right? It should always... We don't necessarily need... Like, I know outposts sound like a really cool thing, but we don't necessarily need them when you have your ships, right? So, yeah. I that's just how I feel about it, is it's frustrating. Yeah. I yelled at Elliot in Twitch chat, but he doesn't get what I yelled at him about. So I feel I got to type to him for a second, but yeah.
It feels like they want you to play together. They're just making it difficult. I feel like they're I don't know how to say it. I think multi-crew, but making it difficult to multi-crew. They're making it, but they're
doing traditional game development and then not supporting a live service.
Yeah.
So they treat the game... We've talked about this on this show for fucking years, dude, where we talked about how, yes, the game is an alpha, but yes, it's also a live service. Please just shift a little bit more over to the live service experience and having that be somewhat of a priority to you. And it just never feels that way. And I think if they took some time and said, hey guys, we're not really going to add any features. If we do, it'll be like really minor stuff, like racetracks or whatever, right? And we're going to really focus on cleaning up a lot of the issues, like prison, like, VoIP, like logouts, like PES, all those things. And we're just going to take a whole quarter and we're going to dive into it. And I think the best time to do that is leading up to CitizenCon. They never share anything on ISC. They never share anything on SCL. All they do is look into inside game development. And what better time? They're not showing any new features, right? Things like that. So that's where my thought process is. But PC, you wanted to go a while ago, and I've been holding you hostage. So
no, I'm just trying to keep it short so you can get and play Void.
True. All right, I'll let you go.
Peace out.
Later. Our next caller is Von Bismarck. Von, can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you just fine. Can you hear me?
I do. I'll turn you up a little bit. You don't got to turn yourself up. And yeah, how are you feeling about everything?
I'm feeling the same way about you, but I kind of have like a more technical aspect of looking at it. Just to give you a little bit of my background, I'm a software engineer.
Okay.
I do a lot of game design, and I dealt with actual CryEngine in a few of their products.
Oh.
So for me, it's kind of looking at what they're dealing with is a lot of like legacy code. Like, for instance, you mentioned VoIP. VoIP is run off the Cry VoIP system, which used to be GameSpy, if you remember that. So that's the kind of system they're running on, and I just think that they're just bottlenecked with a whole bunch of just below code that's just legacy, that's just standing in their way. I mean, I used to tell my friends as we play Star Citizen, just hit the tilde key and look how many things you see Cry within its name. And it's just countless. It's just countless. And it just shows me that they're holding on to a lot of legacy stuff, which is kind of in their way when they're trying to produce all these like new tech.
Yeah.
They talk about new tech all the time. They're like, oh, we're going to utilize this new technology. It's like, great, but you're still utilizing like legacy code from 2010, 2009.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I mean, it just, I don't know, is that, as a software developer and as somebody who has some experience with the engine, I guess, is that something that when I'm asking for quality of life, am I asking for them to rebuild a lot in that way?
It's kind of like a two-pronged approach. So if you ask them to do a quality of life, like to just build up on those systems and make them better, it's kind of like they have to put ships on hold and really focus on that. and I just don't see them putting like the ships on hold to build on, to really iron out those problems.
Yeah, because we know but I don't see them doing it either. I know I'm yelling at clouds, and nothing is going to come of this, because look at them, right? Look at they just show us that they don't care every day, but that doesn't mean that I shouldn't try, to make the experience better.
Yeah, I can't say it's not like a not caring aspect. It's just like, you have your best software engineers working on ships and working on new tech, and it's just like, thrown to the wayside, this old legacy stuff.
Yeah.
And it's just funny to me in that aspect of it. It's like, they can just spend, like you said, just a quarter, maybe 2 quarters, just to iron out, get rid of that legacy stuff and implement, a new service. And I don't know what's kind of holding them back on that, per se. It's kind of they just need to pull the trigger on it. But I just think they're just really caught up on all the newer things, and like, again, ships. It's like ships is the biggest thing they really want to work through, and all the promises that Roberts makes. So it's kind of hard to like go back and try to kick, what is the word? Kicking the can down the road is really what they're doing on it.
Yeah, and it feels like they've been doing it for many, many years now, and it's just like, all right, man, let's just put the can in the recycle bin, please, and do something here, because it's just when every time they add new features, they add more bugs, but they never clean up the ones that we were dealing with before. And it's just like, it just piles on and piles on and piles on. And eventually the experience becomes pretty unplayable. And even when we are able to log in, the experience has become unbearable at times. I just wonder if, because there's more features and more to play, if I am becoming increasingly more frustrated with the inability to enjoy it the way you would expect. I don't know.
No, I'm with you on that. I've been back in this project back since Kickstarter, and to me, the biggest thing that got me into this project, or at least backing it, was that they use CryEngine. I was like, oh wow, that's amazing. They're going to use this FPS based engine to build like a space simulator. That's amazing. I want to see how they do it. Plus, they pulled a lot of technicians and engineers from Crytek to develop it. So I was like, wow, they're going to be doing a lot. And, Roberts is aiming for the stars, literally, with this project. So I thought, okay, but as years go by, and as you said, it just gets a little bit tiring at some point. And to me, it's like, I understand it's a business for them, and maybe they can't spend 2 quarters of not building ships and really focusing on getting rid of like legacy code and actually implementing a new VoIP system. But it's like, at one point they have to make the money, and it's like, okay, but you could, iron out like one thing, like you said, just VoIP, just iron that out, and that just make everyone happy for like the following, year almost. Just happy to know that they're seeing that progress happen.
Yeah, and like I think they finally saw the problem with having a bad game this patch.
Yeah.
When they made less money.
Yeah, and I'm on the train with. I'm just not buying new ships. I'm happy with what I have. I'm just gonna sit back and just see how they're gonna progress. And I remember a buddy of mine, I actually haven't played the game in about almost a year and a half, because a friend of mine's like, oh, you should get back on this new update. I'm like, is it Pyro? He goes, no. I said, okay, then I'm sitting back still.
See, this is something, and this really doesn't have anything to do with what we're talking about, but what is it about Pyro that is what people are waiting for? What is it about another star system, when I always am of the feeling that, well, adding another star system doesn't fix, well, all the quality of life problems, first off, and also doesn't add any additional gameplay necessarily. You do kind of have like maybe gate camping, or that there might be this a bunch of, I don't know, commodities of some kind that you need to bring from Pyro into Stanton. But aside from that, how does the experience change for you, and why is that what brings you in?
I think it brings me in because it goes back to that legacy code. If they can introduce Pyro with server meshing, and I know they say the word server meshing, but it's not technically the right term for it. But what it will do is kind of force them to revise the engine from the core up, especially when it deals with entities. And then that would actually open floodgates for things like better VoIP, for better gameplay, for better mechanics within, like, better physics, because they're gonna have to handle the way that physics is calculated and then transfer it through server, like RHI, which is just a handling input. But things like that would actually just open the floodgates for them, and I think it just opened the floodgates for all of us in that sense to see more progress quicker. As we stay within Stanton, I just think like they're just holding on to this Frankenstein version of the engine that they have. You know what I'm
Okay.
saying? It's like they're just
So
really just. Go ahead.
sorry. So in your opinion, then, should I like should my frustration, like, I remember 2 years ago or a year and a half ago saying I am I need to be infinitely patient and wait for server meshing because they're not going to fix anything until they do it, was my feelings then. I still kind of feel that way now, but at some point it's gotten to the point of like, all right, guys, we have talked about kicking the can down the road, right? Server meshing is taking quite longer than we expected. So it's, am I unreasonable from that standpoint of should I just wait, in your opinion?
Kind of. It really goes back to how they're progressing with it. How well they're transparent on the idea of like, okay, this is where we're at on this part of the steps with Pyro. Because, like I said, it goes back to when they introduced that aspect of it. It removes a lot of bloat from the engine. VoIP is a very great example of it. They're using the old VoIP system from GameSpy, which uses the TCP/UDP protocol between client to client. It doesn't really go through a server-based system. There is a handle to it, but it's not there. It's not like the new types of VoIP that's out there, like cloud-based VoIP systems, which are a lot better, like you see in games like Squad.
Mm.
Those things handle high amounts of players very easily, while their system does not. So when they do move to like, quote unquote server meshing, this allows them to transform all those mechanics to that, which again goes back to the cloud-based server system, which then VoIP becomes better. A lot of things just comes better for that aspect. But I don't know, like, it's hard to tell because like I watch your videos, I watch their videos, and I'm just like, I don't see much progress on it. So that's why I'm kind of like a vampire in a sense. Like, I'll just call me when it's available.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, that's sort of what I have always felt, but I'm starting to lose that ability to have some patience. So
Oh, I agree with you. It's a hard move. I mean, they have this phenomenal idea of this game, and it really is like hands down one of the greatest ideas for a game put into practice and actually put into our hands
yeah,
is amazing. I can't think of any game out there or any game I worked on before that has this scale of what they're trying to achieve, and I believe that they can actually achieve it. It's really that putting themselves in the right direction, like really hammering down what needs to be done first, what needs to be, put to the side because it's not important. Like the Cutlass Black, the steel, like that was not important whatsoever. Why make it? Like why even advertise for that? Like no one wanted the Cutlass steel.
yeah,
There was
but
no
I
reason.
mean, if we're talking about like VoIP versus the Cutlass Steel, those are two different teams.
Right. Yeah. Again, Cutlass Steel is mostly, yeah. So you have 3D artists working on that aspect, but then you have to have the guys who work on the engines, vehicle team that actually puts these vehicles in the engine. Those are the guys who are working on those things, and they could do, easily be working on VoIP. They could be easily working on some other task here and there.
I
But
imagine the
since
audio team works on VoIP.
no, it's a software audio type of aspect, but any really software engineer worth their salt can easily implement like a VoIP system into the game engine. It's not as difficult as it may sound. It's really saying to yourself, are we going to use a third party, or are we just going to build our own using AWS? Like, how are we going to cover that, and then just go in that direction?
Yeah.
Because the audio guys just work on things like spatial awareness, so like sound effects, FX, dealing with Wise or Fmod if they use one of those two, which I don't remember which one they do.
Wise.
Wise, okay. So that's where they're handling. The audio guys are handling that aspect of it, but the software guys are not. They're dealing with deep within the engine, the code itself.
Okay.
So they can implement VoIP, or they can remove it. They can do whatever they want. But if there are too many guys are being tasked to vehicles, and then you have the physics guys working all by themselves, and then you have other guys doing this, you just have no one to do it.
Yeah.
You just need a small team and a small goal, just to say to yourself, all right, get this done in quarter one, and we'll be finished.
Okay. Well, all right, Vaughn. I wasn't expecting it, but we have a few more callers, and we need to get the audio team a little bit on your side because there were some weird sounds as well with your mic.
Oh,
So
sorry about that.
it's all good, dude. But I'll let you go. But thank you for your insight. I appreciate it.
No, thank you for your time. Appreciate it too.
Yeah, man. Talk to you soon. First time caller, I think, right?
Yep, first time.
Yeah, appreciate it. All right, man. Talk to you soon. All right, our next caller is Riven.
Hello.
Hello. Am I saying it correctly? Which way?
Just pick Raven. I think that works best.
Raven? All right, perfect. So Raven, we've been talking a lot about quality of life and how little of it there might be, or how much of there might be, and what would be a thing that is important to us. How do you feel about this? What do you want to talk about?
Well, the bigger thing of quality in life is what matters for me is Star Citizen can be brilliant. And I think most of us that play or still play had some experiences in the game where they said, hey, this is really great.
Yeah, of course.
But
they happen in little bursts. Maybe
exactly.
A session, an hour, right?
Yeah, they're fine between, and that's maybe if you can have those more regularly.
Yes.
That would be amazing, because it can already be amazing. It just often isn't. And if it more often is, I think they are also from the point of, fixing bugs doesn't make money. I think it would. Because if the
I think it
game's
also
amazing,
makes the game.
Yeah, and if you have an amazing game, people might actually want to buy stuff and play it instead of just, I don't know, fantasizing about CCU chains or something like that.
The topic of the week, the CCU chains.
Oh, I don't know too much about them. I just know that they exist.
Yeah.
And then the next thing is like a few things that are kind of a big pain in the ass is joining a friend when the server is full. Like you sit there and hammer like the button like join, and it always tells you no.
See, for me, it's always one of these things where they have expressed that they are going to get to it, and that is absolutely a priority. So I don't freak out about that or the matchmaking getting into the same server you were in before, because they haven't even got PES stabilized yet. So they still are doing that, and then they'll get to those things. So like all the steps are there for us, but they haven't finished step one. You're 100% right. And I see in Twitch chat they say a lot of things. They do, and they don't always do them. So to remind them of those things is kind of what our job here is to do, I think, as backers. So, fair on you, Raven, to bring it up. The one thing I wanted to touch on about your previous statement before we touch on some of the quality of life things you would want to see improved is, you talked about how if we had more good experiences, it would sell the game better. I think it's, and I touched on it again at the beginning, but don't you think you're just able to give it opens up the holes in the actual game, and then they know what holes to plug or what features and content to create. If they the data that they get now is 100% flawed, because nobody can play the game as intended when you're crashing all the time, unable to join party with your friends, things like that, and I think it would show a lot of the holes in the actual gameplay, and they would easily know what to prioritize next. And I don't think they can do that right now.
I don't know that much about that. I mean, this is just based on
I'm just speculating.
My feeling. I don't have any super cool insight into CHE, but I think they got a pretty good idea what they want to do with most stuff.
Yeah.
And let's be honest, the whole open development, it gets pushed into PTU and you can give a little bit of balancing feedback, and maybe they do some of it, but they're pretty set on what they want to do, in my opinion.
Sure.
Or at least
when it gets in our hands,
shakes down.
Yeah, but I mean, I think that they were pretty set on how they wanted to do mining, right? And then we showed them that their ideas were not good. And then they went, oh, okay, true. And then went back to the drawing board and made it better. So they can be set in whatever idea that they think players are going to play. But until players are actually playing them, they're never actually going to know.
I would argue that the mining side was more of a balancing mess than an actual gameplay mess.
Yes, but that's essentially what I guess I'm saying that too, but it's balance and going, oh, these could be the prices of ships because players are earning them too quickly or not quick enough, or oh, players need this feature like trading or something like that because we see that they're constantly making boxes and giving them to each other. Why don't we give them a system so they don't have to do that? That's sort of what I'm saying. Is when you actually have a stable and playable experience, you can truly see how the players play the game, create solutions for the problems that exist, build up the great things that people are doing. I think we saw that with racing, right? Stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, sure, it gives a more complete picture. I'm not sure by how much.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I mean, we won't know unless it happens, right? It's pure speculation at that point. But please, since I cut you off, like, what are some of the quality of life things you would be looking for?
I mean, it has been mentioned previously, but having like invisible players is a huge thing for me because
Mm-hmm.
you do something and maybe you more combat or not, and something just shoots at you and it's nothing there. It might happen in FPS, it might be an entire ship. I think it gives the player it gives you a feeling that's very unfair. That's broken as it gets, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
Well, other than the invisible asteroids in which you might sometimes crash, because it feels so random.
Yeah.
And it's probably the most unfair feeling in the game. And as I mentioned before, grouping up with someone who's already in the game is also a pain in the ass.
Agreed.
Which is kind of a shame since the Citizen is best enjoyed with friends, in my opinion.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's a multiplayer game. The more we can spend around other people, whether we know them or not, the better. Which is again why I think they're really pushing for server meshing too, right? And why that is the priority and maybe not quality of life, because that gives them hopefully the ability to do that in a smoother and better experience. But given how PES is going, I mean, what's your confidence level on our player experience 1 year from now? And from a quality of life standpoint, I would say.
Easier to say now, but I always kind of expected PS to be a bit of a mess.
So did I.
Because
but for the length of time, I'm not, no.
Yeah. I think we all hoped that it would stabilize quicker. But on the other hand, since at least in 3.19, it has been considerably better for me compared to 3.18. Not in the sense of what you talked before is, I have 30k and I come back 15 minutes later and my ship is in the same position and I can get back there. But it no longer like negatively affects me as much like in the last patch where nothing really worked for me.
I mean, yeah, people couldn't even log in, right?
Yeah, it was like, and everything was constantly disappearing. I think I lost one shield this patch. I can live with that. It's not ideal.
Well, just wait for 3.19.1 because
everything's gone again.
Yeah, things are just disappearing constantly there. So I was just walking around my ship and my helmet disappeared. You just imagine a player walking outside and dying. Like that's the quality of life that cannot exist in the game. That experience just can't be there.
Yeah.
It has to be resolved.
Of course, another big thing would generally be better server performance, but that's not something I think they can do quickly.
No.
Because the servers run in a single digit frame rate, which obviously causes some problems in the game with desync and all that other nasty stuff.
Of course.
But
Yeah.
that's, while it would be quality of life, it's kind of a tall order, I guess. So we're gonna have,
And it's
gonna
also
have to be patient with that one.
yeah, and I think it's also one of those things that comes with server meshing, and they are working on it. So it's you can't get mad at them for working on the thing that fixes a lot of the issues that you probably are having, right? So they're doing it now. So you're yelling. I'm not saying you, but like we would be yelling at them to do something
what
that they're
they
already
do.
doing. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like faster.
Yeah, of
Which
course.
is a
We
lot
would like them
easier
to go
said than done.
exactly. We would like them to go faster, but for me, as long as they
Everything now.
hear the exactly. So as long as they hear the issues and have acknowledged them and are actually working on them, I usually try to be like, okay, I'll wait. But when it comes to things like VoIP, party systems, stuff like that, it's been too long, and it's
Yeah,
how about force reactions, falling over constantly in the game for seemingly like the dumbest reasons, like just like I think players can we could sit here for hours and name these weird quality of life issues that are all like these weird little edge cases that could get cleaned up if somebody just took the time to clean them up. Right? I think forced reactions are one of the single stupidest things I've ever seen in a video game in my entire life in the way that they're implemented now. They're so rigid and weird. I hate them so much.
Well, med pens, using a med pen is such a clunky experience, especially if you got two weapons equipped, like you use a med pen, then you stand around.
And that's gotten better.
It pulls out another, then you want to switch back to your weapon, but it picks the other one you didn't have equipped before, so you got to then re-equip. It's just not a streamlined experience.
No. And yeah, like using the wheel is more effective at keeping your weapon out than just pressing the button. Why are those two things different? Right? Like it's just the overall player experience could just get a nice looking at for 3 months, and then that's it. Leave it alone for a little while. Come back to it, right? It would just be so welcomed. I don't know what else to say.
Since you mentioned before that some people think it would take forever to develop if they did this. Well, it's already taking forever.
Yeah, at what point? It's already been 10 years, dude. Like what? At this point, who cares?
And like
I'm here. I'm just letting my cat in. She's at the door.
I'm really I like playing the game, and so it would be nice to have some of those stuff. And if it delays something else by like one patch, I can live with that.
Exactly.
Because it's more important for me to have a kind of a good time now than possibly having a good time half a year in 5.5 years instead of 6.
Yeah.
When it all comes out, and maybe I'm not interested anymore at that point, or don't have time, whatever. So better have a good time now.
Yeah, like when I talk to somebody who really likes to do the CCU game, since you had brought it up earlier, and I kind of made fun of him, and he explained to me, he was like, I'm playing Star Citizen now. I don't know if I will be even alive when this game comes out. So if I'm going to enjoy Star Citizen and find my fun in it now, or even we were just talking about buying ships and how it takes away from the progress of the experience, right? That ships are a big piece of your progression. Why would you skip over that? I don't understand. Why do you buy ships? I just asked him, and he said, because I don't know if I'm going to be around. I've earned them in game multiple times now through wipes, so I'm just buying them because I don't want to keep doing that, right? So it's that's a whole nother thing too, is getting us to a place where we don't need to wipe as often, right? Stuff like that. So, but all right, Raven, excuse me. I'm gonna let you go because we got one more caller. There's somebody in the green room, but I'm gonna call it after our next caller, Lars, in terms of the callers.
Bye.
But thank you for calling, and Yeah, you sound like you were going to say something.
Oh, I just said bye.
Oh, bye. Well, all right, Raven, bye. Thank you for your insights. Thank you for calling in. We've got, like, besides PC, all people who I don't think have ever called into the show before. You haven't, right?
Not that I recall.
Yeah, so I mean, it's been a lot of years of this show, so maybe many years ago, but yeah, I appreciate it. So it's cool. It's cool to hear from new people. So thank you for calling in. All right, our next one is Lars. Lars, can you hear me?
Hey, yeah, man.
You're also a new caller too, right? Never called before.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been listening to you and Board on and off since Redacted days. It's been a long time.
Wow, yeah, that
Um,
is a while.
yeah, well, back in like 2.0 or whatever it was, wasn't it?
Yeah, I'm probably before that. I don't even know. It's
Yeah.
been forever. I know I've been around and pretty much hung out and was cool with Saurus from the Arena Commander 0.8, 0.9 days.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's not a lot of people that you see that remember when you could just walk into the hangar and you could shoot your vehicle weapon down the garage and that was it. That's all you could do.
Yep. And we would sit there and we would pull out the ships that
Yeah.
we were all figuring out what we would do at, like, our daily driver. Oh, my freelancer Max, guys, that's going to be my daily driver. That's I would sit there and we would talk about what we would do with our daily driver ships, and now I'm
Yep.
sitting here 10 years later talking about quality of life and how I still don't have a daily driver of a game. Right?
That's it. Yeah,
Crazy.
man, it's heartbreaking. It just seems like every time they add a new ship, they're just adding more tech debt, right? Like they've got to go back, they've got to do something to it.
I mean, for the ships, sure, but I think it's not just the ships; it's every feature, it's
that's
it's
it.
everything.
Yeah, I think that's why we're definitely not seeing larger ships coming around. They're like, hey, we know we can't get these out, so let's focus on just getting littler ships out so we can try and put people elsewhere.
Exactly, and get through some of the backlog. Although it feels like they're continuously putting out new ones instead of old ones. But yeah,
Yeah, look, I have an idea for that, but I don't think they'd ever do it. Is just now you've got modularity working, just spend 6 to 12 months punching out all those modular ships, like all the different versions of the stuff. You've still got ships to sell, but also you're burning the backlog.
yeah, maybe.
Yeah, but what
I don't
can you
know.
do?
They made it sound like they theoretically could do modularity, but they don't have it done.
Yeah,
So we don't know.
you
But
don't have the people to do it or something like that.
what's your biggest quality of life gripe in the game right now?
Look, I just logged off. We just did a salvage run in the Reclaimer.
Okay.
3 of us did a Constellation and then a Hammerhead, and it was just the pure desync of it. Like, oh, we were out there tractoring guns to the elevator, and it was like, hey, yep, you've got 2 guns there. It's like, oh no, I can't see them. You're like, oh, and how do I get those guns in there now? Everyone has to own 1 gun and ferry it up and
Yep.
put it into the Reclaimer. You can't just do a chain.
You can't chain it to people for some reason. The second you tractor beam one thing to another person, the original person who touched that thing with their tractor beam, for some reason it's now theirs, and until it is brought to the other object container, it is theirs. It's such a weird thing. We learned about that when we were trying to build our mining ships out, and, like, all the different lasers and things, and we were throwing them up. We realized it keeps teleporting back to this guy, and then he would put it in himself, and then it would work. And we're, what the hell? So yeah.
It's just like it's the video game version of edging right now, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's so close to something really enjoyable, but you just can't get there.
The thing is it's not. And that's what I keep talking about when I keep saying that, like, like progression and economy and all these things are so important, because when you do have a sort of playable experience, you do see how thin the game actually is. Because your play sessions are maybe shorter than they probably would be when the game comes out, things like that. You can actually see how far away from a game it actually is. And I think that that's why getting to quality of life is so important, because then it shifts the mentality of everyone playing the game to going, oh, I only need this one thing and then the game will be good, because that's what you hear a lot of people say, myself included, when in reality you need a lot of things to come together, and then those things can get prioritized properly, what's important, what's not, and then go. But I think the quality of life actually gets in the way of that a little bit.
Yeah, agreed. Like walking from the cockpit of the Reclaimer to the cargo hold, there's probably half a dozen little fixes that need to be done, right? Just in there.
Yeah.
That would
I
take
think they're
someone
gonna,
days to weeks.
like
to
the
do it.
Starfarer and that ship, I feel like they're going to completely gut and do over.
Mm. Yeah. I look, I love the inside of it. I just would love elevators to work. That'd probably be my number one quality of life fix, is elevators working in game.
Well, have you played
Not going-
19.1?
No, I haven't.
It should be good. Rejoice.
Oh yeah.
I went in, I pulled the Reclaimer out, and I came up to the outside of the ship and said, "Call elevator," and the back elevator came down.
Imagine that world.
You hear that?
Oh.
Hey, that's some quality of life.
That's it. It's coming. See, it's coming.
Yeah.
Nah, cool. That's all I got, man. But thank you. Thanks for having us on.
All right, man. No, thanks for coming on. I appreciate it. All right, Lars, we'll let you go. And I think that's... Oh, sorry, Lars. I think he was saying, all right, goodbye. But that's going to be it for the show. I know we have one more caller, Powerplex, but I wanted to keep it around an hour because I actually did the podcast very early this morning. A lot of you guys know Void Dude and some other guys. I think we're going to jump into some Jump Town. So I wanted to catch that before they headed off. So I did this a little bit early. I thought I was just going to do a monologue, and we ended up getting a lot of really great callers with a lot of cool insight. So I hope you guys enjoyed the show. If you did, hit the like button. Subscribe for more answer the calls, and leave a comment down below, unless you're going to tell me that the game is an alpha or I should just play another game or anything like that, or spam that down in the comments below, because the engagement's great. I appreciate it. I don't know at this point if I want it or if I don't, but I'm definitely not going to listen to those comments very much, because I have such a hard time with this sometimes. Those comments are real, and they matter, and they're, in a way, they're right. But at the same time, Star Citizen is this very unique thing. It isn't just an alpha. It isn't just a live service game. And I think we have to meet in the middle somewhere. And I think those comments are a bit too extreme on the "it's just an alpha, bro." Year 11 of development. We're going into, we're talking about CitizenCon for the 11th year with no economy, 1-star system, horrible quality of life in the game. Can't party, can't join a new server. VoIP doesn't work. Desync. No master modes for another year, no server meshing for another year, but it's just an alpha, bro, right? Like, it's one of these things where it's just, that statement is just, while true, is just like, it is probably just as pointless to say as me saying we would want some quality of life in the game. And with that said, that is Answer the Call this week. I do hope we get some more quality of life, because I think it would make the experience just that much better. And again, thank you for all the callers that came in, and thank you to everybody watching on Twitch. If you guys came in a little bit later, this will be up on YouTube later today. Like, comment, subscribe, all those things. Thank you so much. If you're new here on Twitch, hit the follow button. And if you ever want to take part in an Answer the Call, they happen on Sunday mornings. I still am working out like what my real life schedule is going to be. I would love to start doing them on like a Friday night or something like that as well, and do like a little TikTok where 1 week it's Sundays, 1 week it's Fridays, so we can get more North American callers, and then others it's like more Australian and European callers, so we can get a little bit of a worldwide view on certain subjects. I think that would be pretty cool, but I still haven't gotten there yet. Still figuring out all the schedules and how it's hard not to sit at the computer all day, every day as a full-time content creator. I will say that. But anyway, I'm going to head out. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.